Hello, hello, hello! Finally, the day has come. Welcome to our virtual book club. I'm Adrianne Joise Herrera.
And I am Justine C. Antang. And today we will be discussing about John Knowles' first published novel and became his best known work, A Separate Peace.
Yes! So let's dive into it. So actually, this story I have read the summary from Wikipedia. So even when I haven't started reading it, I already knew what was going to happen. But I was curious as to how the events would unfold, how it led to that, and how the author, Mr. John Knowles, wrote the story, how how he used the words. And I must say that I was very impressed by how he wrote it because I thought his writing was very descriptive. His analogies, his comparison was spot on when, and also it was really. How about you? What do you think of how Mr. John Knowles wrote?
As for me, I actually did not read the summary. I directed to the PDF itself, to the book itself. And then at first, I actually found it boring when he was discussing or he was talking about the place. I found it boring, really. I mean, I was thinking this is not the kind of book that I would really love to read. But then when the flashback started, when when the author, when the protagonist in the story, Jean, started to talk about his past experiences, talk about his friends, I have realized, oh well, maybe this book might be good to read. And then I started reading it, and I found it a good one. It
Yes,
worth it.
yes, yes. First, I was curious as to how Jean would what was there with the. You remember in the beginning when he was recalling the marble stairs and the tree, and then he was saying about how it's fearful, and then I was curious as to why was it fearful? What was in those places? And then as we read the story, we found out that those were the places where grim things, where tragic events had happened to Phineas, and also the places where he realized something of himself, right? And so how should we start this? Should start with the introduction. With the introduction, I I was actually trying to find a feel of Jean's character. I was trying to understand who is he? Who is Jean here? I noticed that he kept on talking about Phineas, and then he wasn't talking about himself. So I found out that he's very enamored. He really admires Phineas. I've noticed that even from the beginning. And then also how they had those other classmates. And then when he started talking about, of course, at first he was complimenting him. So I thought it was natural as Phineas was really deserving of all those praises. He was such a dreamy character, as I've thought. I imagine I've never met someone like Phineas in real life. Have you? Have you ever met someone like Phineas?
I actually haven't met that kind of person in my life. It's so
Yes,
talented and who can speak to anyone. Phineas, as described by Jean, is really something that you'll never think that someone like that would exist, right? It's like you can't believe that there's a person, or as I actually only know that it was actually who's talking when he wasn't started writing during the first chapter. Talks to the professor, when why did they go there at the tree, at the bank, or at the ocean, at the river rather. I mean, that's how I've known that, oh, it's Jean. The name of the one who was describing all the places, all the people around is Jean.
Yes, yes. I
Yes.
remember I remember when I first took note of this story, I just wrote MC. MC stands for main character. So, because I've read his name on the summary, but as he kept on mentioning Finny, Phineas, actually, there was this dumb moment when I was writing. When I was writing about the characters, I wrote Phineas and Finny below because I thought Phineas and Finny were different people. And then I realized that Finny was his nickname and that he was just talking so much about Phineas and none of himself. But wouldn't that tell you something already, even from the beginning of the book, when the main character doesn't talk about himself but of his best friend? Right?
Yes, I also have noticed that. But then, one day when he mentioned that it is not a sin when you envy your friends. I mean, not always he was mentioning that phrase that it's not bad to envy your friend. I've started to notice that kind of attitude of insecurity and envious attitude, the inferiority he felt towards Phineas, especially during the time when Finny broke the record of a great swimmer in their school.
Yeah,
Have you remembered that scene then?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and you know, Phineas is just a humble person. He doesn't want to brag about it, and he told Jean that he should never tell anyone about what happened, about him breaking the record of their school. And then there's Jean. Of course, he did not talk about it to his classmates or to their friends, since he thought that Phineas was serious about it.
Yes, yes. I've noticed that too. Yeah, I noticed that he was complimenting Finny. He was admiring him. He was saying that he should be proud that he's the best friend, something like that. But then I also noticed that there was some part that he started to talk like there was a sense of envy. I sensed that in the book that he was feeling some type of way, that he wants to outdo Finny. But then, of course, because of the thought that Finny is just this kind of ideal person, so even though Jean did not agree with his ideas, with his thoughts, with what he wanted to do, he kept on following Finny. And I wondered, why would you keep on following someone when you don't agree with what they say? That actually confused me. Why would he still keep on following Finny if he thinks otherwise, whenever Finny dared him to do something that he thought was dangerous? Why would he keep doing that? And it was then that I realized that he was trying to prove to himself that he could be like Finny, that he could be as good as Finny, that he's not as timid. Yeah, that's what I found, that he was trying to tell himself, he was trying to convince himself that I'm not that low, I'm on the same level as him. And also, yes, that part on the swimming pool, I was actually really amazed by that. And then it was once again proven to me that Finny was indeed a very athletic, a very gifted person. And then and then when Jean interpreted that humility of Finny as something that, how did he interpret it again? I kinda forgot about it. How did he interpret that part when Finny didn't want him to talk about that?
I mean, that's the time when he started, when his envious or his insecurity started growing
Yes,
bigger.
yes. Yes,
That's the time.
I couldn't understand that. I mean, how could you interpret that kind of thing that way? Like when your friend tells you to not tell everybody of something great they did, and then you interpret it as that they want to brag around you. I mean, what kind of thinking does he have? What kind of mind does he have that he interprets those kind of things in that way? I thought he was kind of twisted. I mean, those are simple things. Those are whenever Finney says kind words, whenever Finney has kind intentions. I don't wonder why he interprets it as Finney wants to be my rival, Finney wants to be better than me. I couldn't understand that. But then,
Actually,
mm,
now that uh, now that we are talking about the swimming pool or what happened to the swimming pool, I have now realized does um why does Jean thinks that Phineas was just being too humble with himself. Like he wanted to show off. I mean, maybe he wanted to show off that his best friend is one of the best swimmer who have broken the record of the best swimmer in their school at Devon School. And maybe that's the reason maybe that he has like he wanted to spread to the school that his best friend, I mean, the person he has always been with is one of a great swimmer in their school.
yes. Yes, I think I think that only worsened his envy because of course everyone who's in that situation, I don't know, maybe not everyone, but most people who's in that situation where you did something like breaking a record, that's a big deal. Of course you would want to share it with everyone. Of course you would want to brag about it. And also the fact that he didn't train for it, that he just did it for fun. But then, as it turns out, he doesn't want to brag about it to anyone. Maybe that worsened Jean's envy towards Finney because why would he be this humble? I mean, that's unrealistic. I mean, why wouldn't he brag about it? If it was me who had done something like that, I would probably brag about it. Maybe that's one of the reasons why his envy worsened, because how could he be this kind? Like, how could he be this humble? I think he could not fathom that part. Okay, next than that. What was the next than that? After that, right then, that's when he started feeling more and more envious, right? And then he kept on misinterpreting everything that Finney was doing, was saying. And then also the beach, do you remember that scene in the beach where Finney
Yeah,
told him
yeah.
that he's the best friend, the best pal? I was just so touched at that part.
Yes, actually, when he told Jim that you must come to the beach with the person you're best with, like something like your best friend. You must come. Like what I am doing right now. I'm coming here. I am here at the beach because I'm with you, Jim. Something like he was telling Jim that you are my best friend. But what Jim did that day, he never answered. Like he wanted to say that Finny was also his best friend, but he just can't. And maybe because I thought it's because of the feeling of envious towards him, the feeling of insecurity towards, the feeling he feels insecurity towards Phineas. And that's what stops him from telling Phineas that Phineas is also his best friend, his best buddy, right? That's how I analyze the scene right there at the beach.
Yes, yes.
And of course, he also the suspense, what do you call it one?
The,
when Jean started to suspect
Ah,
that Phineas is trying to distract him from his
mm,
study. Remember when
yeah, yeah,
that day, a day after they enjoyed at the beach, the morning they woke up, he wanted to go to school ahead of time because it took 3 hours to go back to school. But then, when Finny woke up, he he wanted to go to the sea and enjoy the water there. That's it.
yeah. Yes, right, right. Actually, when I read that part about that beach, I kind of wish that someone would do that for me. I mean, it's not every day that you find a friend who would be that honest with you to share with you that, hey, you're my best pal. I think of you this way. I mean, even in the modern times, you can find best friends who will really be vocal enough to say those kind of things. And then reading that he didn't answer back made me feel that what he was feeling towards Phineas wasn't just a simple enemy, that it was something worse than that, and it was continuing to grow into something that is darker and darker. And also that one, when he started suspecting, yes, as he started suspecting that Finny was distracting him, I got more and more mad with him because I couldn't understand his way of thinking. I mean, they've been together, they've been friends for so long. Why would you think that he's that kind of person? That kind of person who will distract you from everything. How could you think of it? As I've said, how could he misinterpret those kind of intentions of Finny? And then, what was after that? He was suspecting, and then it was that moment, right, when Finny said that he was jealous of him.
Came to school. What?
That that moment, that moment when Jean asked Finny if he would mind if he's the valedictorian, and Finny told him that, yeah, I would be that jealous, I would kill you out of jealousy if you were valedictorian. And then,
I mean,
remember that?
okay. I think Phineas that day was just like telling him like, I want to have that kind of brain too, like something like that, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Oh.
I couldn't
And even in the
understand.
day
Yes, yes.
when actually we also missed some part of the story, like they build the super suicide society, right?
Yes, yes.
And one of the reasons why Jean is actually something like invading Finny is just it was Finny who had been leading the group.
Yes,
And then Jean never skips meeting every night. And then that night at their room, um, Phineas asked Jean that, I mean, they're going to the tree because Leper was about to jump off the tree.
yes, yes,
Do you remember that part?
yes. Actually,
Then that's when
yes,
burst out, like something like he told Finny that he has to study. I have to study. Why are you distracting me? Something like that. Do you remember that part of the story
yes.
where
Actually,
Phineas was actually shocked when he found out that Jean is studying because he only thought that it all comes towards Jean's mind, that he's just genius one, that he doesn't need to study.
yes. I remember that. Actually, I consider the super suicide society as one of those things that Vinny thinks about, and then he tells Jean about it, and then Jean disagrees about the idea. Then he keeps on following. I consider that one of the ideas, as in the book, right? In the book, there were many, many times that Finny had proposed something, had told Jean something, had made Jean do something that he doesn't want to do, that he doesn't believe in, he doesn't agree with, but then we see that he still keeps on doing it. I consider Super Suicide Society as one of those things. So just when he told that, I was kind of laughing because it was, for me, it was a bit sad when he said that I was not like Finny. Finny was naturally talented, naturally athletic, and he said that he was not like that. I was a bit sad about that because being someone like that, I don't know, maybe I don't directly understand the feeling, but I guess I've seen many people like that. I know many people that are not naturally that intelligent, but then they work hard. And so because they work hard, they become achievers in the class. I've known many people like that. And I understand their pressure, I understand their effort. So whenever I see them studying so much, I develop some kind of empathy, some kind of understanding that I would not tease them about it. Because, not to brag, but I myself, I don't really study that much because I'm really lazy. But then it comes out that I still get good results even if I don't study that much, because aside from the fact that I listen to the teacher, when I get a little chance, when I get a small chance to read from my classmates' notes, then I don't know how, but I somehow retain it easily. And that's why, even though I don't really take notes, even though I don't study so much, it still turns out that I have a good result. And then seeing those other people who works really hard get the same result as you, I guess that's kind of a bummer to them. And maybe that's how Finny felt. But Finny felt that he worked this hard, and then Jean worked that hard, but then Finny still gets all the credits. Finny's still the most loved. Finny's still the most popular. Maybe that's that his efforts were all in. We haven't discussed about it when Finny told Jean that he would be jealous if Jean would be at the top of his class. Jean said something about he was certain that he didn't have a best friend, that he didn't have affection, he didn't have partnership, and that he couldn't rely on anyone. I thought he was exaggerating. He was turning it into a big deal. I mean, between friends, that's natural for you to say things like that to your friends. That, hey, I'm jealous of you. Hey, how are you so good at this, so good at that? And even if Jean doesn't admit it, he also feels that way towards Finny. But the difference was that Finny was vocal enough to tell him that, hey, I'm jealous of you. Meanwhile, Jean was trying to convince himself that, hey, I'm not jealous of him, I'm not envious of him. And maybe that's why it ate him up first. Maybe that's why it turned into a bigger deal, because he was trying to keep it inside of him instead of voicing it out. He felt that, my best friend is my rival. I mean, it proved that keeping things to yourself is never good. I mean, no matter how difficult it is, you should tell someone about how you're feeling. Because look at him, what happened to him. He didn't share his feelings to anyone. He didn't share his thoughts to anyone. So it came to the point where he did something impulsive, something that cannot be reversed. irreversible, right? What he did in the tree.
I actually can relate to this scenario. I mean, with Jean, it is really important to have a friend whom you can open up your mind, whom you can open up your heart, whom you can open up and say everything you wanted to say. And then that's the feeling when you're not feeling like you're going to explode, but unleashing something within yourself, isn't it? I mean, you are being filled with someone. Good to have someone listening to you everything you want to say. And what I have learned right now as I mature, Amy, so for you not to destroy your friendship, but that's the biggest lesson I have learned, right? Because I already have someone who listens to me whenever I want to talk to. Hence that day when I claimed someone to be my best friend, but she did not give back. Like, no, I already have a best friend. Don't call someone a best friend, isn't it? Do you have best friends or close friends?
Best friend, I don't know why, but I've really been traumatized with the idea of best friends because there have been many times when I considered someone as best friend, but then I was too disappointed when they didn't consider me their best friend, or when they couldn't give the loyalty that I expected them to give me. So I was very traumatized by those times that I just stopped thinking about the idea of best friends. I just thought that it's just good to have a friend and not really expect too much from them, else you'll be disappointed. Next, and then we come to the tree part. Yes, it's really shocked. I let you talk first to the tree part. I've been talking so much.
The time we chatted, you told me, why did he do that? You told me, why did he do that? And you were really shocked by how Jean acted that day on the tree. I mean, I also cannot believe why did he do that thing. I mean, before the incident at the tree, there are some clarification. It happened right there in the room, as what we have tackled when Jean started to tell Phineas that he was going to study. He's gonna do the study, and then he was pissed off by Phineas because he was thinking that Phineas was distracting him. And then there, Phineas have realized that Jean also needs to study, and then he doesn't want Jean to come to the tree to watch him after. And that's it. But then Jean
Still went to the tree, right?
Jean insisted to go there, and that's what happened.
Yes.
I mean, he was also shocked by the time when he realized that Phineas didn't really actually treat him as a rival.
Yes.
Jean was also shocked by the fact, but then how could he do something like that?
Yes, about that part, I thought when Finny told him that it's alright, you can go on studying, and when he was like, oh, all this time he wasn't really that kind of person, he didn't think of me as his rival. My reaction was that, obviously, congratulations that you know now that he never really thought of you. He never really thought of you as a rival. And you were right there being paranoid, imagining things when it was all just in your head. So I was relieved at that part when he realized that. But then, at the tree, I was reading it, and then he was saying that, actually from the part when he said that he held. You remember that he held the, what was that? The trunk? Was it the trunk? When he said that he held the trunk, I already had an idea. Why would you hold the trunk when you're about to jump from the tree? And then he said that he bent his knees, and then Finny was outbalanced and fell into the tree. And I was there that I had no words. I was speechless. I think I stopped reading for a while. I was just too shocked that I put off my phone for a while, and I tried to understand why he would do such a thing. Why the heck would you do such a thing? And then he said he jounced the limb. And I was very much conflicted as to, did he do it? Did he do it on impulse, or did he really want to do it because he was envious of him? And but then by that time, it didn't really matter to me. Just the sole fact that he consciously jounced the limb. It was I was very much mad at him. I was upset with him. I don't know what to do with him.
Like that, yeah, okay. Oh, and remember when Phineas said that? In this storyline there, Phineas looked at Jean. Phineas was also expecting that Jean would lend his hand to catch or to hold Phineas, but he did not. He never do that thing. He allowed things to happen. And of course, it was his doing. And I am really just so disappointed. How could a friend who always describe Phineas, who always appreciate Phineas' personality, but then here comes the day when he did that to his best friend, so-called best friend. It was just so disappointing to know that this story is all about a boy who was so envy with a person he was just a person who have a lot of insecurity towards others.
Yes. Do you remember that part when they first jumped on the... No, maybe that wasn't the first. That part where they also jumped together, but then
I remember that part.
yes, but then
That's
Jean was about to fall, but then Finny saved him, right? Do you remember that part?
Yes, I remember that part. Did you know what he did with what he thought that day? It was like, I wouldn't be here if you did not invite me here.
Honestly, I wanted to punch him.
Yeah, I don't have to feel gratitude towards you because it was all you did. I'm here. It is himself who never refuses to go there. He's just so narrow-minded. I don't want to live in this, but then just like someone narrow-minded.
Honestly, I wanted to punch him. I kind of want to punch him that part.
It's your first time to read a book who's the protagonist or the one who is describing the story? Is it someone like you will really never like him? I always read a book where the personality of the one who was describing the scene or the first person point of view is the one who's the Frida or what we call the protagonist. But then this time I just thought that maybe he's not the protagonist of the story. Maybe he was not antagonist. Oh my god, this guy crazy, right? This novel, like, maybe really this is the reason why it was the best-selling book of John Knowles.
Yes.
And what? That's the reason why. Okay. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, yes, that's a difference. True. Usually when you read a book, obviously you like the main character, but then seeing as to how John Knowles portrayed Jean as that kind of person, I felt, aside from feeling upset, aside from feeling mad at him, I was actually intrigued. I was I became more curious as I read more of the book. I wanted to understand. I wanted to understand Jean. So maybe partly because I I see myself a bit in him. I see a part of him in me. And so I wanted to understand why he would react that way. But then, when he did that, when he was paranoid, when he reacted that way to his friend, when he did that to his friend, I told myself I would never do that to anyone. Whether that person is my friend or not, I could never see myself do that much harm to anyone. So that's why I was trying to understand him. Maybe partly because of what's going on. Maybe there are many factors that we don't understand. That maybe that's why he became like that. Then, so yes, it was intriguing. So it wasn't your typical book. Yeah. So maybe that's one of the reasons to why people like it. Next is yes. Do you remember that when it came out that Finny could never do sport again? I was really downcast. I felt really sad for Finny since sports is his life. But then now he couldn't do it. All because Jean felt envious of him. Now he can't do what he loved the most. Can you imagine that? When I read that, I thought, I don't think I can ever forgive anyone who would do that to me. I mean, someone takes away something that you love so much. And therefore, I was more amazed with Finny when he forgave Jean repetitively, number of times. I really admire him so much because I don't think I can ever forgive other people who would do those kind of things to me, even though they didn't mean to do that.
So do you remember the time when Phineas was sick? He was sent home, right?
Yes.
And then his clothes were there at the room. And then here comes Jean, who started to try on Phineas' clothes in him. Do you remember that time?
Yes.
How eager would he be towards Phineas? I mean, even his style, even his clothes, he wanted to try it.
Yes. I think that meant that inside of him, he was envious of Finny because he wanted to be Finny. And he felt bad about it because whatever he does, he can never be like Finny. He will never be Finny. And do you remember that yes. Do you remember that when Finny went home to his place in Boston, and then Jean went to his house? Do you remember that scene? What do you think of that?
Yes.
And he confessed.
I mean, he was there. Oh yeah, he was confessed, but then I mean, I was just so broken-hearted when Phineas really cannot believe that he will really never believe that Jean can do that thing to him. And I remember that time, that's when I cry my tears out of my eyes, like, oh my god, having someone you will never expect to hurt you have hurt you so much that you have taken so a precious thing from you, which you'll never ever thought that person can do that to you.
Yes.
That's the betrayal that you will never want to have.
Right. If you're in that situation, do you think you would forgive anyone for doing that to you?
I really cannot see that today or tonight. I mean, if I'm into that situation, I will really think not just twice, but 100 times. Should I forgive this person for doing this thing to me? I mean, you took a precious thing. I mean, my whole life I've been playing, and I'm using my physical body to play, and this is where I'm good at. But then suddenly everything will went to nothing. It's because someone just do something bad towards you, and you expected that he will never do that to you.
Yes. That was very disappointing. And so we enter into the new phase. The new phase was that the summer class was over, and now they were in the winter class. And that was the part where you said where he tried to put on Finney's clothes, and also Brinker. Do you remember Brinker? Brinker Hadley was introduced, and do you remember that? Where actually Leper wasn't in the beginning. Leper wasn't really a significant character, right? But then towards the end, we see him turn into someone he wasn't because of the war, right? And I was really shocked at the role he played towards the end in the story between Finny and Jean. Okay, so we'll go to the winter part where, yes, remember that. You can discuss it. You should discuss it.
Part, okay. The part again, it was Finny again who have the idea to have a carnival, isn't it? It was Finny who have the idea. Let's do this. I will do this. You can do this. I mean, can you remember the time? It was him also. Who also invented the winter carnival.
Yes.
And
Finny
you
was just
there is
very
this chance,
Finny was just very rich
creative.
of ideas. Yes. Actually, that time,
It's full of stuff.
yes. Actually, that time, when on the winter, before Finny came back, and do you remember that part where Jean wanted to start anew, wanted to be someone else. He wanted to start a new life, and then I was like, does he really have the right to start a new life when he just broke someone else's life, and then he didn't even apologize. He didn't even what do you call that? He didn't even regretted it that much. He didn't pay for it. I thought he didn't. I personally, I'm not sure about other people, but I personally believe that to be worthy of someone's forgiveness, to start a new life, you must first confess your sins, and then be truly sorry for it, and then try to make up to that person whom you have sinned with, right? You should make it up to them. You should change. You should do all these things before you think of having a new life. But then when Finny was gone, you wanted a new life, and then I thought, how could you think of that? How could you think of having a new life? You don't have the right. Me, that was what I thought. And then of course, Finny came back, and then Finny, even when he was disabled, he was still loved by everyone. Before the carnival, they were talking about Leper, right? They were imagining what happened to Leper. So you could discuss about that, because that's what happened.
Left already. Okay, so that during the winter time, Leper was not there already because he already entered the army.
Yes,
And
yes.
then they were imagining that maybe Leper was one of those armies who had played a great role in the World War.
Yes.
That's it. I mean, their imagination is just so too high. I mean, they are just so imaginative for a 16-year-old.
I actually think that was kind of a refreshing part because throughout the whole novel, it was serious, but then during that part where they were joking about Leper being, hey, maybe Leper did this, maybe Leper did that. It was kind of fun to me because it was such a breather from the stressful life of Jean, stressful thinking of Jean. I was just annoyed with him. But then, do you remember in the carnival when the letter arrived? When the letter was sent to Jean? And then it contained Leper's message. And it was all capitalized and in bold. There was, when I read that, when he said that he escaped, when he said he escaped, I thought, my mind went back to the, I don't know, to the shows that I've watched. When the soldier says he escaped, to me it would mean that he escaped from the army. I thought he escaped from the army because he didn't want the life there. But then I was more shocked finding out that he was actually discharged because he became a psycho. Do you remember that part when Leper told Jean that he saw images of body parts, when he saw the soldier as a woman? I thought it reminded me of PTSD. I don't know if it's really PTSD. I haven't done my research. But then I know that a war causes trauma to soldiers in different ways. And that was the trauma that happened. It was the trauma, the result of the war to Leper. He couldn't sleep at the right time. He couldn't eat what they served. He couldn't do well on the army, and then he just exploded. He just broke. And then after that, Leper was no innocent Leper anymore. It was heartbreaking reading about him.
If you try to imagine, it was just 17 years old that time, and then we are now 20, and then how immature could a 17 years old would be, right? We're just going to put our shoes into Leper, so that must be traumatizing for him.
Yes.
Or boy.
Yes, it was really heartbreaking to me. And then also when he was do you remember that time also? The Leper told Finny about about the tree part. Actually, I was kind of shocked with that because then I realized.
I think that's the time when Pinker and the friends, isn't it? Pinker and the friends interrogated Jean, and then there comes Phineas who was listening. They wanted Jean to confess. Then they remember that there is a witness and it is Leper. Then they called Leper.
Before that, it was revealed that Leper actually knew something about what Jean did to Finny, right? He was giving this kind of hints to him, and I was actually shocked because Jean was just he was just thinking that this guy is a psycho, no one would believe him. But it was actually something that he tried so hard to hide. He tried not to make people question him. But when it was very obvious, when he said that they were together at the tree, it was already obvious to the people that there was a possibility that he was the one responsible for the accident that he caused. And so when Leper told about that accident, I was kind of, I don't know, a bit excited. I was curious as to how this would play out. I mean, let's see, how would Leper use this knowledge? How would Leper use this knowledge to reveal Jean's secret? I was waiting for that, but I didn't expect that it would be that way. So that what happened. And then I was actually disappointed with Jean when he left the what do you call it? When he left Leper. Do you remember that they were walking? They were walking, and then Leper was talking about his experience in the army, and then Jean thought it was too much that he ran away. He said, "I don't want to hear about it." Remember that? I don't know. I didn't like that. I
I'm not
didn't like that
interested.
response.
Yeah.
Hmm?
I mean, it's someone who doesn't want to listen to someone who was opening up with him. Like, right? I mean, if it were you, someone open up the traumatizing experience, you will feel the feeling of wow, he trusted me with his traumatizing experience. I think I am someone special to him or her. You will think that way, but Jin was just too different. Right? He's just different. He thinks differently from us. We can really never get his. I mean, we are trying to understand his character. We are trying to understand him in this story, but then we just can't figure him out. Why is he doing such a thing? Right?
Yes.
Let's open up his or her experiences, his or her problems to you. You might have the feeling of being trusted by someone. He's just being too rude. His character was too rude to everyone. Not just to Leper, but also to Phineas, to everyone. He keeps on giving, what do you call it? He keeps on giving meaning to someone's action towards him. And that's it.
Yes, he was always overthinking. Yes, I didn't
He's a
like
bad
that.
one.
I didn't like that. I was annoyed again and again. I was annoyed with him because how could you run away? How could you run away when someone is telling you? Of course, obviously, it's not a good thing to hear about someone's experience in the war when you're about to enlist. Of course, it's not good, but then to dismiss him like that, to tell him to I don't wanna hear it. It was a wrong way to handle such things. He could have handled it better. So yes, I dislike that part of him when he did that. Next was
Almost all of the scene was disliked by us, isn't it? Because we found him too different. It's just too different from how it is. Right?
yes, it's just the way he thinks is just too much for me. And then what was the next? Also with Brinker, do you remember when Finny hasn't come back yet from the school to the school, and then Brinker was also teasing Jean. Brinker was also teasing Jean. I was nervous. I was nervous when Brinker told Finny and Jean that they wanted to bring them to that. I forgot the name, the room, the dark room. I don't know, the assembly room. And then they questioned him. Did you push him off? Did you push him off? They were trying to test his patience, and I was thinking as to how would Jean how would he handle that situation? How would he give excuses again? How would he say again that it was not me, something like that? But then when they said that, hey, there's Leper, I was really I don't know how to feel when they said, hey, I saw Leper, and then they called him, and I was like, oh, is this gonna be how it is? Is this gonna be how they reveal that? Mm-hmm.
The excitement as well as the feeling of. I mean, have you ever pity Jane in that situation where he was put into interrogation to a hot seat by everyone. It was just him trying to escape that interrogation, something like that. Have you ever pitied him?
No, but I pitied Finny. Finny. Because I thought it was too much for Finny. Right? How he was forced to accept this truth. Do you remember the first time when Jean confessed to him that I did it, I jumped the limb, and then he couldn't accept it? It was then that I realized that he couldn't handle this kind of things. He was too positive, he was too ideal, that he couldn't handle the ugly reality. So I felt pity for him when he was forced to acknowledge this truth, and also along with other people. Yes, it was too much for him that he fell on the stairs. I was reminded. Do you remember when Leper described to everyone what happened that day? When he said that he was looking up at them, he was seeing their shadows among the sun, and then he described the motion as engine. Do you remember how he compared it? He was talking about how it was like an engine when someone bends their knees and then bounces back up while the other one falls over. When he said that, I don't know why, I was very amazed.
Now, maybe we should talk about how did the story end. Jane stated that before he entered army, he was able to free himself from hatred. He was able to kill his greatest enemy, which is himself. And he compared everyone to Phineas. Phineas who always shown positivity towards others, who always shown good attitude, which became a part of him. And now, I think the story was entitled A Separate Peace. I remember when Dr. Stanford told Jane that Phineas died from the operation, during the operation. Jane did not cry that day. It's because he was thinking, why would I cry on my own funeral? And that's when I realized that Jane was treating Phineas not as others, but he was treating it as part of himself. Jane has always been part of him. And that's when I realized that a separate peace means now at the present time he was at peace, and also Phineas was at peace, and that they are having peace separate, a separate peace. And that's all. Thank you. So I think this will be the end of our meeting for tonight, and I hope we can read another group and share our thoughts through this virtual group club again. I really enjoyed our discussion for tonight. Thank you so much for your time.